Hello once again and welcome back to mylifeswalk.com. My name is Brian Jones and it is truly a blessing to be back with another video blog for the week. I count it pure joy. I look forward to it, and as I look back over my recordings, I truly get inspired and encouraged by the words that I share with you. Because one thing I've mentioned before is that this is not just for you and your growth and your development of the relation of your relationship with Christ, but it is for me as well. And I encourage all of you who are ministers or speakers or uh, praise team worshipers, whatever you put forth, remember that it's for you first. So I hope that piece of advice serves you well as you move forward in the talent and the gift God has given to you. All right, now we are going to get started, and the topic for today is it's time to move beyond where you are, making a change. Now, we have to understand that God has given us all talents. And so when we're talking about it's time to move from where you are, this statement applies to those of us who have a talent that we have buried in the sand, that we have not allowed to flourish. And this also goes for those of us who have allowed our past and our experiences in our past to stop us from making a change. You know, those past experiences, they go a long way in hindering our growth if we don't change our mindset. You know, and I'm going to just refer back to the whole purpose behind this website. It's the renewing of the mind. And this is another one of those topics that requires us to renew our minds and the way we think. All right, so you have to decide for yourself. We all have to decide for ourselves. What is it that we need to change about who we are, or what we need to change to pursue vigorously and develop wholeheartedly the gift that God has given us? And there's three things that we need to address. The first thing is we have to change the way we think about that thing. So if you believe that your past experiences affect how you deal with things today because they were so painful and because it was so hurtful, you know, we we feel bound by that history. We have to change the way we think about it. First of all, it's yesterday, it's gone. Yes, it has influenced us, but we have a choice, and that's the thing to remember. Today, we have a choice. We don't have to allow that thing to influence what we do today. So we have to change the way we look at that thing. For example, if you've had a bad experience in your life or bad experiences in your life, you can look back on them now because you're not in them now. To the past. What did you learn from them? Change the way you think about it. I had to go through that for a reason. And my pursuit is to understand why that is. And for the most part, in my understanding and my reading of the word, is that we go through things not just for our own personal growth so that we become stronger. And we all know the more you endure and go through something, the stronger you become. And even that is a choice. to embrace the strength from going through it, or to allow it to encapsulate us and to grasp us and to bind us. So if we choose to change the way we think about that thing, even when it comes to our talent, we have to change the way we look at it and not allow it to be bigger than us. And I'm going to get into more what I mean by that in just a minute. The second thing is understand that change requires work. You can't. We have to understand that in order for us to change, it's going to require us doing stuff that we don't normally do or we didn't normally do, whether it be from our experiences or as it pertains to this talent that God has given us. And the last thing is we need to understand why we need to change. And a short answer to that is when we don't change, not only are we affected, but those around us are affected. And so I'm going to go a little bit more into that as we go along. But let's start with the change the way you think about that thing. I did go into a little bit, but one of the things we tell ourselves is too hard. Well, yes, change is hard. It's a difficult thing because we get caught in a comfort zone. So we got to change the way we think about it. It is hard. If you keep telling yourself it's hard, think about it. If you keep saying something is hard, it will always be hard. But if you tell yourself, you change the way you think, you know what? God has given me this talent. That means I already have the ability to do it. So it's going to require effort on my part, but it's not hard enough to stop me from developing this talent or making this talent grow. And I've heard people say, this is just who I am because of my past. This is why I am where I am today. Change the way you think about that thing. Like I said earlier, what you went through is to build you up, not to tear you down. It wasn't meant for you to be stuck. It was meant for you to look at that thing and say, you know what, God brought me through that. And so I can overcome anything. If I made it through that, I can overcome anything. And it doesn't have to take 10 years. If you believe that God is in control of your life and He allowed you to endure that thing, then you have the power. You have the strength in you. So think about it that way as it pertains to your talent. Your talent unfulfilled is, they used the word when I used to play baseball in high school. I remember they wrote an article about me, and the word that they used was potential. I didn't think about much at the time, but now that I look at it, potential means unfulfilled talent. You have to change the way you can. I have this talent. It's potential. Until you put it into action, it's potential because you haven't done it yet. So we have to change the way we think. I will achieve. I will succeed with this talent that God has given me. Change the way you think. And the last thing is, as far as we have to change the way we think, we have to stop telling ourselves that we're not good enough. That was truly one of the challenges for me, and it still is. It creeps in from time to time, and I have to bind that enemy that tells me, you know what, you don't have the talent of all these other writers. No, because that's their talent. My talent is to write and to speak the way I speak and write. I don't have to be Joyce Myers. I don't have to be Joel Osteen. I don't have to be Miles Monroe. That is not my talent. That's theirs. My talent and understanding who I am and what God has given me, I had to stop and say, you know what? God created me. I don't have perfect dictation. My eyes flutter. I smack my lips. But if I use those things as excuses not to put forth the talent God has given me, then what does that produce? Nothing. It produces nothing. So I had to change the way I think. It's not about me being as good as them or being like them. It's about me saying, you know what? God has given me this talent. That means I can do it. However He chooses to use it, the success is going to come if I do what He has given me talent to do. You are good enough. You are not your history. Those things you endured, that is not who you are. Those experiences didn't make you less than. Those experiences, just as with Job, go to show that you have your faith and your trust is in Him and Him alone. And no matter what it is you go through, you will succeed. So if you think about it like that, if you change the way you think, then God is going to start to do some things in your life. Now also, we need to understand that change requires work. Let's be honest. We can be lazy. And it's more comfortable just being who we've always been. It truly is. But if you really realize that you need a change in your life, the thing that you have to remind yourself is if you don't do something different, you will always get the same results that you've always gotten. You will always be frustrated. You'll always be down, feel disheartened. You'll always feel that you're not good enough. But you got to do the work. You have to begin to do work. You have to begin to set aside those weights that thus so easily beset us. And that even includes how we think about our past, how we think about the talent that God has given us. So if you want to flourish in that talent, you got to do something different. If you want to get beyond your past, you have to think and do something different. Because there is truly a danger in the comfort zone. One of the things that I constantly think about is that if I stay in this place, and when the time comes that I have to stand before God and answer to Him about the talent that He has given me, what would that conversation be like? I'm going to hang my head in guilt and shame because I didn't do the very thing that He is. I didn't put forth the effort to do the thing that I could have done with the talent that He's given me. There is a story, and many of us may have heard the story about the 3 talents. And basically, God had given these 3 individuals 3 talents. And the last one took his talent that God has given to him and buried it. Because he was so worried about, what if I put forth the effort and it didn't produce? So it was easier for him to just bury it. It's comfortable. I don't have to do nothing. I won't lose it. It's an easy way to secure what I have so I don't lose it. Well, that didn't work out well for that person, that individual. Because when God returned, He's looking for the increase. It was best that I never gave it to you at all. And we don't want that. So we have to get out of that comfort zone. We have to say, you know what? I have to do something. I cannot stay in this place. I cannot keep thinking about my past the way it was and it still affect every day of my life today. You're going to have to break a sweat. You're going to have to do something that is uncomfortable. You're going to have to, you're going to have to press through, and the simplest example I can give is, for me, I know I need to lose some weight, but the weight ain't going nowhere until I do something. This belly is not moving until I put forth the effort. I have to break a sweat. I have to do the things that requires change. I cannot keep eating and snacking in the middle of the night, and think this belly is going away. I got to do something different. So we have to understand why we need to change. I mean, and it's kind of self-explanatory, but if we don't make changes, then we become stagnant. And that is, we stay where we are. And to be honest with you, that's not a good place. Where you are is not good enough. Because we should be striving for perfection. And if we stay where we are, we get no closer to perfection. We all know we can't be perfect, but where is your effort? Because if you don't put forth the effort, it's going to be like, I know many of you have been to the beach, and the more sand you bury your feet in the sand, the more sand you put, the harder it is to move. And that's what happens when we don't change. Life keeps going, and the sand keeps building, and we can't move. That's why we need to change. We need to get out of that. We need to work our way out of where we are to be where we're meant to be. And if we don't change, we begin to become disheartened. We don't feel worthy. And that's the enemy's way of keeping us where we are. We get disheartened, and we just don't have the faith and the strength. But yes, you do. And the last reason why we need to change is because then we don't fulfill the works that God has predestined and assigned us to complete. And most importantly, that is the most important thing. God has given us work to do. And if we do not do that, then again, as I said, there's going to come that day where we have to stand before Him and give an account for why we didn't do the very thing that He gave us to do. And we can't say because it was too hard. There's nothing too hard with God. Because that's what He does. He gives us His word. And that's what we have to remind ourselves with, His word. When we start to feel like my past is too heavy of a weight to bear and I can't change because of that, there is no condemnation in those who are in Christ Jesus. Don't condemn yourself to your past. He's forgiven us. His word says, hey, all you have to do is ask for forgiveness, and it is given to you. All you have to do is know that my past has nothing to do with my future. All you have to know is that if God gave you a talent, you have everything you need to achieve and accomplish the things that He gave you that very talent to achieve and to accomplish. So what do we do to change? We just went through it. This is it. Change the way you think. Be persuaded to do the work required to change. And you got to strive. You got to push. You have to understand that it is well within our ability to change. If you if change does not happen for you, for us, it's because we've made a choice not to change. It's not that it's too hard. It's not that, well, you don't understand. Yeah, well, maybe I don't understand your past and all the things that you've gone through, but what I do understand is who God is and what His Word says. So we have to change the way we think, be persuaded to do the work that is required, and strive and push. Now, this topic that I'm talking about today, this was inspired by my sister and her PODS organization. And one of the things she started at the beginning of the year is every Wednesday at 5 a.m. West Coast time and 8 a.m. for me. It's a motivational conference call. And basically she just inspires us to reach our goals that God has set, and to just encourage us to keep moving forward towards those goals. And one of the things she said this morning was, we have to develop that which I loved it. It was perfect, Adrian. Adrian, my sister. That fortitude, that determination, that grit, that we are going to achieve that goal. And we need that same to get out of the space that we're in. If you want to make a change today, and today is the day, you have to get that And when in going through that and pushing through, we're going to have moments of pause where our flesh gets lazy and we don't want to push. And then, as my brother-in-law says, Adrian's husband, Richard, he says, we got to remember ASAP right now. As soon as possible is what we're used to it. But he used those letters, that acronym, and says, always say a prayer. Perfect. In that moment when we're feeling that we can't, it's too hard, or I'm not good enough, say a prayer. Ask God to renew your mind and change the way you think about that thing. God is a wonderful God. And I'm going to leave you with this scripture today. It's Colossians 3:23 through 24. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. So with your talent, do it heartily unto God. See, when you do it unto God, the person who gave you the talent, He's going to bless you with the increase. If you put your past and work heartily to get past it and let it go, then you receive the reward of inheritance. You put forth the effort heartily. That means putting your whole heart into it. We have to put our whole heart into changing and taking ourselves from where we are to where we need to be. And I just thank God for the word. I thank God for just knowing this. This encourages me. This reminds me when I don't feel like writing. I gotta always say a prayer, and I gotta get that to achieve and to change. Put forth the effort to be better than I was before, better than I was yesterday, because today it's time to make that change. It's time to move away from where I was yesterday. May God bless you and keep you. I pray that this encourages you and motivates you to uh, start today. There is no better day than today than to make that change. And may God truly bless you and keep you. And I'll see you next time.